Hello and welcome, my friends. It is me, your man's preacher. And today, over this wonderful weekend, I'm sure y'all have seen it. Everybody's popping shit. And we talked about this last video, and we can't ignore it, right? PlayStation is making some moves that insinuate more games will be going more places. And I talked about it I re-listened to my video from a couple weeks ago about Helldivers 2 going over to Xbox. And I listened to it and I sound uncertain, And I think that's an okay place to be with all this. We don't know 100% what's going to happen, right? Moves are being made in this direction. But I think that we still have to look at it with the evidence that we have on hand. Listen, being wrong has not stopped none of the Xbox pundits from yapping. Being wrong a million times over ain't stopped them. So we got to do the same thing in some ways. You know what I mean? You got to look at the evidence that's on the table, and you got to come up with your own decision and make your own decision on what you want to invest in, right? So if you haven't seen it, I'm going to put it up now. This is a job listing, and it says, reporting to Vice President, Commercial Management as Senior Director of Multi-Platform and Account Management, you will play a critical leadership role in shaping and executing the global commercial strategy for PlayStation Studios software titles across all digital platforms beyond PlayStation hardware, including Steam, Epic Game Store, Xbox, Nintendo, and mobile. This role is accountable for optimizing title profitability, ensuring cross-functional alignment, and leading high-performance teams focused on multi-platform expansion, mid-range commercial planning, and platform partner management. So the big one there is obviously Xbox right now. Everybody's like, oh, the whole slate's coming to Xbox. But we really got to take a good look at it, right? We got to take a good look at it from the examples that we have, right? And a great example of third-party publishing is Xbox, the biggest third-party publisher in the world, right? How did they get to that position, and what did they hope to get out of it, right? Microsoft, overall, who owns Xbox, and facilitates them in all they do because they could not be here on their own merits. Xbox simply would not exist off of its own merits, but besides that, they bankroll all of this stuff, and they are a software company. Overall, they sell you Word, they sell you Windows, they sell you software. And so Xbox being in the console space as a platform holder, trying to sell hardware was antithetical to, in the way that we did up to now, with exclusives and walled gardens. It was antithetical to Microsoft's general approach to business, and it failed. we just have to be really honest about that. Microsoft tried to play the traditional console game, and they could not, right? They could not. And now they're coming over to PlayStation, to Nintendo, to everybody with a lot, with their tentpole titles, with new and upcoming stuff day one. They're becoming a true traditional multi-platform publisher in the vein of EA and Ubisoft, right? And on the other hand, I have to look at PlayStation, right? PlayStation is a hardware company, right? They make TVs, they make phones and devices for phones. They make PlayStation, you know what I mean? And their main goal is to sell you hardware, right? And the way that you sell PlayStations, the way that PlayStation has traditionally sold them, the way that has been massively successful for them up to now, the way that they said only a few weeks ago, even I think about in the beginning of June, they had that little meeting with Herman Holst and Nishino. The way they said that they are not looking to make any sort of major shifts in their current strategy, the way they have been wildly successful and plan to continue to be wildly successful, is exclusives. The strategy of creating the best value on the market for the console experience, right? It's not the best dollar value. You're going to spend money when you buy a PlayStation, but you're going to play some goddamn good games, that's for sure, right? Exclusively in places that you can't play them anywhere else for a time, for a time. I think and my personal feelings on it, I've never bought a PlayStation for their first party titles, right? First party has never been the thing for me. That's a lot of the reason why the rhetoric that the Xbox dudes pull means nothing to me. You know what I mean? Oh, where's PlayStation's first party? Where's PlayStation first party roadmap? Da-da-da-da-da. I'm here for the exclusives, period. I don't care who makes them. I really don't. When Seafood came out, it was exclusive for a year. I platinumed it in like 2 days. One of my favorite games of that year. Loved it. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I'll come back to this every day and twice on Sunday. It was so important to me to be wherever. If Final Fantasy VII Rebirth had come out on the ColecoVision, I'd have bought one. I was going to be wherever that game was. And it was on PlayStation day one. Those are the things that matter to me. Not a PlayStation sticker. You know what I mean? I personally did not grow up a huge fan of those games. I played Uncharted way later. I played The Last of Us way later. I enjoy those games now. Spider-Man's cool. God of War was never my thing. I like 2018, you know what I mean? But the PlayStation Horizon's fucking dope. Both of them. 1 and 2 are some of the best joints out, period. Anyway, it's just the PlayStation Studios moniker, while it definitely does come with prestige because they've earned it. They have some of the best games out. They've earned some of the highest ratings, highest accolades. You know what I mean? That does definitely mean something. It's not why I buy a PlayStation. You know what I mean? But exclusive content is. And I think PlayStation understands that. And I think that there is a responsible way that you can capitalize on the fact that, and here's the thing that I really want to push to anybody who's a PlayStation fan who feels like they might be losing something or losing ground in all of this. What you have to understand is that you already won, right? Any arguments you had online, anything, if you was repping PlayStation in any way, you know what I mean? If you said, hey, PlayStation definitely has a leg up on Xbox, you were right. And you won that argument. But you got to understand that argument is over. You know what I mean? The console war truly is over. Anything we've been doing since then has been a victory lap. A long victory lap. I'd say about 1.5 years long victory lap. 2 years, you know what I mean? Probably going to go on longer. But at the same time, you know what I mean? PlayStation should be able to enjoy the spoils of war. There is nothing about Helldivers 2 going to Xbox that is going to make somebody not buy a PlayStation. You know what I mean? If you wanted to play Helldivers, you bought a PlayStation, you played it. You know what I mean? So these games going later on, after they serve their purpose, smaller games like Patapon and Everybody's Golf, that Bandai PlayStation, another video I couldn't make over this weekend. PlayStation just bought a major stake in Bandai Namco, who just put out the Everybody's Golf and Patapon ports for Nintendo. You know what I mean? So, I don't think that's ruining the brand. I think there's a responsible way to do it. You know what I mean? I think there's a responsible way that PlayStation can enjoy the spoils of war in the fact that nobody is buying an Xbox over a PlayStation for the most part. You know what I mean? There's a very dedicated hardcore base that Xbox just has who buy PlayStations anyway. Let's make that very clear. Who buy PlayStations anyway. And that's the big difference between Xbox fans and PlayStation fans. PlayStation fans feel like Xbox is subpar. Xbox fans want to be green PlayStation so bad. So bad. And if this has shown anything, it's just that very fact. They took this job listing, and it's like a dog with a bone. Their jaw is locked. Whole slate. Finally. PlayStation. you listen to them talk, and it's like, oh my God, I love Spider-Man. Please bring Spider-Man over. I platinumed it on my PlayStation, but I would love to buy it again on Xbox. You'll never hear a PlayStation fan talk like that. You'll never hear it. Nobody's saying I platinumed Halo Infinite. Please bring it to PlayStation. 1,000 out of 1,000, whatever they call it. Halo Infinite. Please bring it to PlayStation. Ain't nobody saying that. Nobody was begging for Pentiment. You know what I mean? And the fact of the matter is, PlayStation is wildly successful on their own. Wildly successful with what they're already doing. So they don't need Xbox sales. And we need to look at stuff like Final Fantasy 16 that just went over there, got number 4 on the Xbox NPD, but was like number 264 overall. These niggas have no buying power. They're not going to make all that money over there. So why bring something that might damage your brand, that even might damage your brand? Why? Why risk it? When you have tons of stuff, give them Patapon, give them Everybody's Golf, give them Freedom Wars. You know what I mean? Give them Helldivers. You know what I mean? Give them small stuff in the live service games. Then you making a pretty penny, enjoying the spoils of war that you earned as PlayStation when you won the console war. And you still get to keep the integrity of your walled garden. You know what I mean? You could split off motherfuckers a little petal, but you got to keep the rose. You know what I mean? And I think that PlayStation knows that. That's the thing. I could say all of this, and all of this makes sense, but it's whether or not PlayStation sees it like that. And we'll see, you know what I mean? From what they've said, from what I've seen, from what they've shown, from how they've moved this entire generation in their entire existence, that's what I would say. I would say that it adds up to, because they won the console war and are no longer worried about Xbox in any way, shape, or form, they feel comfortable enough to port what I would assume to be smaller games and live service games over to Xbox. You know what I mean? And I don't think they'll lose much ground on that. I really don't, if they do it appropriately. They're just not porting from the same position that Xbox was. Xbox lost everything. They fumbled the bag. Their whole tower came crashing down, and they needed to switch what they were doing drastically. PlayStation is not in that position. They're just not. You know? They're doing well, selling well, profitable. And now they've pretty much dismantled their competition as far as Xbox goes, and they can enjoy the spoils of their fan base. At this point, I think, we need to be clear. I need to be clear and say that I could be completely wrong, and they could end up bringing every single thing over to Xbox, but that doesn't really make sense. It doesn't really make sense. So I'm going to err on the side of things that make sense. And I just don't see it. I just don't see it happening that way. But we will see. Even if it does happen, Xbox has already done this for how many years now? You know what I mean? And I made this tweet. In 2 years, when we're playing the new God of Gears of War, you know what I mean? The brand new day one on PlayStation. Y'all still don't have Spider-Man 2018. What then? You know what I mean? These Xbox dudes, they take their narratives week to week. It's really, they have no sense of forward planning, which is why they're on Xbox anyway. You know what I mean? It's whatever's happy in the moment, So, in 2 years, when motherfuckers ain't seen a Spider-Man, I'll be here laughing. And I hope to see you at that time right back here on the pews.